Harris Tweed, as you might know, I'm wearing Harris Tweed at the moment. It's a cloth, a woolen cloth, produced from the raw wool to the finished product in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. It is a superb material, 100% wool, and is one of the most distinctive cloths in the world. The Harris Tweed Authority was enacted by a '93 Act of Parliament. Now, the Harris Tweed Authority is designed to promote and protect Harris Tweed, which can only be woven in the Outer Hebrides. We have to protect the cloth throughout the world in case of counterfeiting. It's a fantastic thing to do to protect an industry and securing jobs for young people in the island. When you see the land itself and the scenery, and from the land definitely does come the cloth. So you can see that in the colours that are produced here. The wool is dyed here and produces fantastic colours and a fantastic cloth. People really love Harris Tweed all over the world.
So the first stage of production is taking in the raw wool. So we take in pure new wool, and it's all Scottish Cheviot wool that we use at the mill. We carefully weigh it out and it goes into one of our 2 dye vats. And then it moves down to our dryer and then onto our baler. In the blending and teasing department, each and every yarn has got its own unique recipe, much like blending whisky, where we're carefully weighing out each and every ingredient. We're blending lots of colours together to create that rich, vibrant colour that Harris Tweed is renowned for. The different colours that have been blended together go through the carding machines, where they're literally brushed and brushed and brushed until you take that matted wool and you create a very fine structure, a very fine sliver of wool that then comes out the far end of the carding machines onto the spools. Once those spools are ready and are filled, then they're transferred onto the top of the spinning frame. And each and every spinning frame is carefully twisting that wool to give it enough strength to allow our weavers to create the cloth that becomes Harris Tweed. So the yarn all needs to be warped ahead of the weaver actually weaving the cloth. So we're preparing the warp threads, which are the threads that run from the top to the bottom of each and every piece of cloth. The weaver will then insert the weft threads that run from weft to right on a piece of cloth. There can be anything up to 1,600 threads in each and every warp. Once the warper has prepared all of his yarn, it's then transferred onto the weaver's beam. We have a van and a lorry that go out and about round Lewis and Harris every day, delivering new beams to those weavers and collecting any work that they've already completed.
My uncle was a weaver in the family, and he had a loom, right, not this loom, but he had a loom right here. And as a little boy, 6, 7 years old, I was fascinated by the machine. I watched him for years, and that's how I picked up, how to weave in a Hattersley. I like to keep the old tradition of single width weaving alive. Because as a young lad, there were several hundreds of these looms all over the Western Isles. And the double width loom was taken over. So, I sit here peddling away and I think of my uncle many years ago and all the other weavers who were on the Hattersleys. And the memory of that keeps me going.
Right, I get this beam delivered to me from the mills, and the first thing I do is I tie in each individual end and set up the loom for weaving.
So when the tweed has been finished, it then comes back into the mill. So my colleagues inspect against a light box, looking for any flaws or issues. Some of the tweed may require some darning work and make any small repairs that are required to the cloth. The first stage of the wet finishing process is a milling and a scouring process. So for scouring the cloth, what you're doing is you're washing your cloth, but we're also milling the cloth to bring out the natural softness in the wool. So we have a stenter to dry and stabilise our cloth. Then it'll go onto our picking table, ensuring that the final presentation of the cloth is perfect.
It has to be there to authenticate the tweed. So this is the side that it goes on. It's just a beeswax transfer, an ordinary domestic iron, and there it is there.
Harris Tweed has changed out of all recognition since the early 90s. The industry went through some very hard times in the late 90s and the early noughties. And then in 2007, the big change round came weavers now are working all year round, and that has brought in a lot of money to the island and helped not only the Harris Tweed industry but a lot of other businesses on the island.
I like working for Harris Tweed. It's very hands-on. It's like a big family more than anything.
It goes well with crofting, and yes, your own boss, of course. You can work with your own hours, and I also couldn't see myself doing anything else.
It's a good pastime, especially when you look out the window and see the weather on a day like today.
It's amazing to think that there's a global brand here on our doorstep in the Outer Hebrides. Working for the Harris Tweed Authority it's very exciting, and it's great to be part of it all. If, like me, you're at all passionate about the islands, the culture, the heritage, then it's a great industry to be part of.